All right, today's lesson is to multiply and divide rational expressions. We started working with rational expressions yesterday, where the idea is we're going to be dealing with fractions and a lot of factoring and canceling things out. And really the only difference today is we're going to have two fractions, and we will do whatever we got to do to them by factoring. And then we'll still be crossing things out, but we'll have a series of expressions to deal with instead of just a numerator and denominator. Let's take a look. So here's our first example. As you can see, we have a fraction here times a fraction here. So we're not, on the last lesson, we were just working with one fraction. Now we have a couple of them. So let me give you a little peek of what's coming up here. So we're going to start with something that just has a bunch of monomials. There's a hunk of stuff, hunk of stuff, hunk of stuff, hunk of stuff. But then coming up, and here we go. So when I did one like this yesterday, I really broke it down for you. I was writing, 2 times 2 times 2 here. This is a bunch of 2's here. Let's do this a little quicker this time. You don't really, this is 2 times 2 times 2. This is 2 times 2 times 2 times 2. But really, it's just 8 over 16. We're going to be able to, we can cross things out this way, but we can also go across. Just like regular fractions without variables in them, we can simplify by doing things this way, we can do this way, or this way. So let's see here. How about, why don't we do a little faster? We're going to go 8 crosses out with 16 and becomes 1 over 2. 7 crosses out with 21 and simplifies to 1 over 3. This is where some people, can mess this up here, is with the variables. So pay close attention here. In fact, I'll even change colors for you. So you can see, I'll do all the variables in we'll do it in blue. Okay. So here I have 1x in the numerator, and I have 3 of them over here. So one of these is going to go away here, and one of them will go away here, so we'll be left with 2 instead of 3. And then the same thing with the y's. We have 2 of them on the top, we have 3 of them on the bottom. So those 2 are gone, but we still have 1 left in the denominator there. Little chaos here, looks a little messy, but it really is pretty simple. What you want to do now is just look across and write down whatever's left, which is not a whole lot, is it? It's just a 1. So the numerator is now just 1. The denominator, we can see we have a 3 times 2 is 6. And this is still multiplication here. See, in multiplication. So we're still, when we go across here, we're not adding these numbers together. We're going to multiply them. So it's 6. And then we have x squared, and we have a y. So it's going to be 6x squared y. That's it. How do you know you're done? Well, most important is you have one fraction now. We have one fraction bar where we used to have 2 different fractions being multiplied together. We have multiplied those 2 fractions together to create one fraction. And the second thing is there's nothing in the numerator and the denominator of this fraction that can be simplified more. There's nothing else I could cross out with this stuff because we're done. There's nothing else on the top except for this 1. That's it. Put a box around it and move on. Next problem. All right, for this next one, it's about the same thing, except we now have binomials here. We have binomial. This is a factorable binomial, and then we have a trinomial that's also going to factor. So first step on these problems now is to just factor everything. So that way you'll have smaller chunks of stuff here that might cross out with here or here. Very similar to yesterday's lesson, except that except that you can actually cross more things out going across diagonally and diagonally this way, or possibly this way or this way. Okay? So here we go. Just going to rewrite the first fraction because there's really nothing that I can do there right now. Those are just little factors. And then this one here is a difference of two squares. And once you see me factor it, I think you'll all agree. It looks a little backwards. Usually you'd see it written k squared minus 1, but instead it's written 1 minus k squared. But I think once you see what I write here, it'll all make sense. This is going to be one of these guys. It's going to be 1 plus k, 1 minus k. I mean, if you FOIL this out, what I just wrote, you'll get this. See, 1 times 1 is 1. This is negative k on the outside, positive k on the inside. Those are going to cancel out, which is great because there is no k stuff in the middle. And then positive k times negative k is negative k squared. So this thing makes that thing. Therefore, this factors to that. Okay? And then the denominator's super simple, straightforward. It's also going to factor. It's going to be k, k, and then we're looking for what numbers multiply to 3 that'll add up to negative 4. It's going to be negative 3, negative 1. All right, let's take care of some of the easy stuff first. This is going to be kind of a fun one because a lot of stuff goes away. So right off the bat, obvious one is that the k minus 3's are going to go away. So that's that. Another, I hope you think is obvious, is that k plus 1, 1 plus k is exactly the same thing. It just happens to be written backwards, but that's k plus 1, that's k plus 1. There is no difference between those, therefore, see you later. And we're down to this part that's kind of a new idea for us here. These are pretty similar. You feel like canceling them out, but you know they're not the same. I mean, there's a difference. Like if you go back to regular old numbers, there's a difference between 2 minus 3 and 3 minus 2. Those are different. Where what I was just saying earlier, 2 plus 3 is not different than 3 plus 2. These are both 5. This is negative 1. This is positive 1. So therefore, thinking of it with algebra, this is different than that. But man, they're so close that we would love to be able to simplify this problem a little more. So why don't we, to make this really nice and clean here, why don't we start with what we have right now. We're down to 1 minus k over k minus 1. That's all that's left in this problem. And like I said, when we have the same, almost the same factor, but they're both subtraction and they're flipped around, you can still do stuff. Even though they're different, you can still do stuff. And here's the trick. New trick for you. We're going to factor out on this top one, we're going to turn it into this. And we're going to do that by rewriting it like this. And then we still have our k minus 1 on the bottom. And let me explain what I just did. If you ever want to flip this around so that it says k minus 1, so that it matches this, if you put a negative 1 in the front and then flip it around, you're legit. You haven't done anything illegal, because watch what happens. If you were to distribute this negative 1, you would get negative k, which is that part right there, and then you get negative 1 times negative 1, which is positive 1, which is this number right here. So this does equal this. And so I haven't done anything wrong. But what it's allowed me to do is to now cross these out. If I had crossed them out before, I would have been breaking the rules here if I'd crossed those out. But now that I rewrote this one like this, I have this legally crossed out. But in the process, I created this new number here, negative 1. So of course, the final answer to this problem is negative 1. Done. You may want to pause that one and stare at it a little bit. That's a new idea. You'll see it again on the homework. You can practice it. All right, this is the last one for today. I just did a few examples to get you started. They're all pretty similar, so I just wanted you to see one of every type. And this one is obviously a little different because it's division. But it is so not different from the last problem I just did. All you're going to do on division problems, just like you do with regular fractions, whenever you divide a fraction, you just change this to multiply, and we flip these around. Dividing by a fraction is multiplying by the reciprocal of that second fraction there. So the first thing you want to do here is just be patient and just rewrite the whole problem. Doesn't take that long. Change it to multiplication and then put this one on the top. Put that one on the bottom. That's pretty low stress. So division is nothing. Don't worry about it. I mean, you got to make sure you flip it, but other than that, don't look at division as a harder type of problem, because it's not. Okay, let's factor. So this is going to be a basic just GCF factor. This is going to be a trinomial. We're going to factor. This will factor, and this is just going to sit there. And we're hoping maybe it'll match up with something maybe up here, or maybe not. Maybe it'll just be sitting there. Okay. So here we go. First one, 3 parentheses d plus 3. Just GCF factor. Denominator, d plus 1 plus 3. Check it, it works. Over here, same kind of idea. D plus 1, d plus 4. And then the denominator here, d plus 2, nothing to do with that. And you kind of look around. Remember, you can cross things out either up and down, across, across. And I see a d plus 1 that goes away. I see a d plus 3 here that goes away. And that's it. Stare at it all you want. That's pretty much all you can do. Final answer, 3. Parentheses, d plus 4 over d plus 2. I don't see any reason to keep doing the same types of examples. There'll be things in the homework that might mess with you a little bit, but that's part of the fun, and I'll be here to help you. Okay, so hope that helps a little bit. Get started with the homework. Work hard. Be nice. See you soon.